wrestle you so freaking bad. Wrestle me.
Welcome, everybody, to Juice Pro Wrestling, episode 192. Say goodbye to the bad guy, man. Oh, man, what a fucking strange trip it's been the last month, almost 2 months. But we're back in the house, and we're back with Nikateen Spotlight Game Reviews, the illest game and wrestling reviewer on YouTube. Our good friend Nikateen. How the hell have you been, brother?
Been pretty good, man. Pretty good. Glad to be back on here. Obviously, the reason we're here is talking about Scott Hall, and so could be a little bit better, but considering the circumstances, you know, I can't complain.
Yeah, let's just fucking jump right into it, man. Was it March 14th? You know, it was March 13th. I think it was kind of announced the day before that, like, he was on life support and they weren't going to, you know, they were going to pull the plug, but then there was like a small window of hope. Yeah. And for those, and if you don't know, I don't know how you don't know, because I mean, it was, the news was everywhere. He had complications due to hip replacement surgery, right?
Yeah.
And
blood clots.
Yeah. And those blood clots will get you. So get checked out, people.
Yeah.
And
that's scary, man.
Dude, it's just, it was one of those things that hit me like, whoa, wait, what?
Yeah.
Okay, I could have expected this 10, 12 years ago when he was just, body was trashed, you know, like from years of alcohol and drug abuse. But man, so, you know, long story short, Scott Hall, Razor Ramon, aka Big Scott Hall, if you were watching the AWA back in the day, and the sweet mustache like Nikateen's rocking tonight. Yeah. But he's gone, man. We lost him, and I'll be honest with you, dude. It's real fucked up because my grandmother died at around the same time.
Oh, God.
And I was just kind of like, fuck it, whatever. You know, I didn't really know Nana that well. Yeah. But dude, I was straight up in the garage weeping about Scott Hall, like tears, like just like, holy shit, you know, like I didn't know my grandmother, you know, too well, but I felt like, as we all kind of do with some of these wrestlers, especially from our childhoods, that like they were took hand in raising us or creating who we kind of became. And dude, to this day, you know, I'm walking indoors and I'm always doing the,
you
have to, it's mandatory.
And I just, it was weird because she was like, you know, your grandma just died and you seem to not give a fuck, but Scott Hall dies and you're out here crying like a baby. And I'm like, you don't understand, man.
Yeah.
But one of the reasons I wanted to have you on the show tonight and kind of reminisce about the man, because I know you're a huge, and watching your YouTube channel, dude, you're a huge Scott Hall fan, dude. And brother, there's nothing wrong with being a mark for, you know, the bad guy, man.
The bad guy.
Yes. So, you know, I just want to take the time tonight and kind of reminisce about some of our favorite moments and like the, you know, the history of Scott Hall. You know, as I mentioned, starting off, and we'll give a much abridged version of this because you guys can go, if you have Peacock, there's a pretty sweet Scott Hall documentary on there. And it kind of takes you through everything, you know, from him shooting a guy and killing him and like dealing with that throughout most of his adult life, or pretty much his whole entire adult life, and that kind of fucking him up in the head a little bit to you know, to WCW, to TNA, to WWE, all these promotions. We're going to try to cover as much as we can tonight. But I want to take it back, Nikateen, for those that don't know and aren't familiar with your channel, which is probably very few and far between. What was it about Scott Hall for you, and where did you first come upon him?
Oh, man. Well, it was right around the time he debuted. I was kind of like you know, as a casual wrestling fan as a kid. I had watched it, you know, not on a religious basis like I would later, but, you know, I knew who everybody was and all that. But I remember seeing him, and I just thought he was really cool. You know, that's kind of one of the things that everybody says about Scott Hall is he's cool, like, you know, oozing machismo, you know.
Totally.
But yeah, you know, I saw him and he just kind of had a different way about him. He didn't scream and yell, you know. He talked, just kind of chill. He was a bad guy, but he was cool. He was just kind of slow. He wasn't hyper and energetic and crazy. He was just kind of laid back.
Why you gotta be dogging me, brother?
He was just kind of like, I don't know. He was just kind of mild mannered, and it's like he didn't have to do all these things to get his point across. He was able to just be different than everything else that was out there at the time. Most of the other guys were, you look at guys like Warrior and Hogan and Macho Man, they're yelling and they're screaming and they're great, but this was just something different, So,
yeah.
And his gear was cool. His hair was cool. His hair looked like it was made out of plastic almost. You know what I mean? Like he looked like a toy, man. He was he was just unique looking. Like when you saw him, you're like, oh, this guy looks cool, man. And he was a big ass dude too, 6'7", built,
hairy is all get out.
He was a man's man. He's covered in hair. He didn't shave. He wasn't, he wasn't out there getting waxed. I mean, he came out to the ring. He had the stubble. Dude, he was just cool, man. He had cool colors on, always rocking like purple and gold or green and gold, plus the jewelry, the toothpick, everything, man. It was just cool, So
I think for me, he was kind of, they were the only other guy I can think of. And he was good friends with them. And they both spent time with the DDP at the accountability crib is Jake Roberts, man. He was another one of those guys that in a promo, he'd just look at you and be like, you don't trust a snake. He didn't need to yelling. Yeah, dude. It was so like, wow, you're so enthralled with like the charisma that's coming out of this guy, but he's not over the top,
Yeah.
And
no way, man.
For me, Scott was, like you said, dude, he was so cool. I think he was one of the first heel bad guys to really be that cool, because I remember watching now, I used to have a massive collection of hand-me-down PWIs and stuff from back in the day. And I would see pictures of him from the AWA, with Mr. Perfect and whatnot. And I was just thinking like, damn, who the hell is this dude? Like big old mustache, just giant cowboy looking son of a bitch, and then him popping up. And I watched a lot of early WCW and when he was the Diamond Stud, and I was like, dude, man, this guy's pretty badass, right? And then
yes, he is.
To take the the whole Razor Ramon thing, it's everybody's always like, what's the greatest gimmick ever, right? And a lot of people I think will obviously, maybe the first answer should be could be the Undertaker,
the Goon.
But dude, I'm telling you, when he came and that music, dude, like you said, the jewelry, the vignettes that like everybody heard before the show started.
Cadillac.
Dude, just so much.
Yeah.
So much power, so much like just especially as a little kid, you're like, whoa, holy shit. Yeah. Who is this dude popping out a Scarface that looks so badass?
Yeah. That's the thing too. I didn't even know I didn't know what Scarface was back then. I was like 7 or 8 first time I saw Razor. I didn't even know what Scarface was. But instantly I was like, this guy's badass. And then obviously when I got a little older and everybody watches Scarface eventually, and I was like, oh, I see. Right. But it just made me like both more. Right. It made me like Scarface even more because Scarface was, what one of my favorite wrestlers modeled his character after, and then vice versa. So.
Dude. And to talk about how influential Scott, we could probably spend the whole episode just talking about that. There's so many guys, men and women in the sport of professional wrestling that have left their mark, so to speak. But dude, he's up in that tier, where there's not a lot of men and women that have done what he has done and opened the doors that he has opened, from him and Nash being like, getting men and women guaranteed contracts to just ushering in the era really of the bad guy, like everybody could say Stone Cold, but dude, Razor he was the cool, he was the gray area before there was like NWO, which he took part of. That's another thing, the NWO, the Wolfpack, the culture that he created, the throwing up the Too Sweet, aka the Turkish Wolf, all that. Just, dude, they were so badass too. Like in the NWO, when he first came out with the Canadian tuxedo on,
that was the best. I want that best. Chest hanging out, all oiled up. Come on. Hey, yo. Come on, dude.
But it was so real, especially to us kids. We were like, what the hell is this? And he's like, you may know, who I am, but you don't know why I'm here.
Yes.
And, dude, those words, that promo still resonates with me today, man, because that just kicked off something that has been copied over and over. And you look at Bullet Club just celebrated their 9th anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
There's no Bullet Club without NWO, and you could say DX or whatever, but there's no DX without NWO.
No, not at all. That were the answer to the NWO.
Yeah, it was definitely the answer for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, and you could even say there's no Crow Sting without Scott Hall.
Boom.
That's kind of one of the things too. You talk about his kind of what he did for the business, just those little things, right? A little conversation in the dressing room, and he's talking to Sting and kind of telling him, hey man, you should kind of do this. You should grow your hair out. You should stop bleaching it. You should kind of go to this darker character. Have you ever seen the movie The Crow? The dude was really, he just had so much to offer beyond just, wrestling in the ring.
Dude, yeah, his psychology and his pop culture wherewithal, if you will. Obviously borrowing a little bit from his favorite movies like Scarface, and then being a fan and or just knowing about The Crow, and basically handing Sting the rest of his career still on a silver platter, dude.
To this day, if you watch AEW right now, it's Crow Sting. It's not Surfer Sting. It's Crow Sting out there. So, I mean, yeah, that's pretty big, So,
yep.
And dude, you think back to the, like, especially, and you saw a little bit, like, going back to the early WCW when he was with DDP and the Diamond Stud. You saw a hint of what was to come,
Oh yeah.
And then when he did come back, and he was the guy to watch vocally, like on the stick as Razor Ramon, because it was just like, oozing machismo, all that stuff. I remember watching, there was some promo where he's talking, Mean Gene's interviewing him and Macho Man. Damn, and I'm thinking here right now, they're all fucking gone, man. It fucking sucks so bad. Get a little chucked up. Anyways, they're interviewing him, and he's like talking about, I'll make you ooze machismo or something, or I'm the only guy that can ooze machismo. It's like talking that shit to the macho man. Yeah. Like, and it was like believable. Like, nobody could do that to Randy, like,
yeah,
and get away with it. But when Scott did it, AKA Razor, it was on like fucking Diddy Kong, man. And oh God, I loved everything he did as far as like the promos, and particularly in the NWO. Dude, how fucking classic and memorable is the survey says?
Survey time.
Absolutely. Survey time. Hey, yo. Something that they started in the NWO. I mean, that's one of the things you would wait for. I remember watching Nitro on a weekly basis. I'd like to see him wrestle, but I didn't even care if he didn't wrestle. As long as they came out and he was grabbing the mic and saying something, I'm like, yes, So, I mean, those were the days. You talk about that, his debut. I still go back and watch that episode of Nitro all the time, where he's coming out. Who was it wrestling? It was like,
was it
Scott Norton?
No, I think it was the Mauler. Remember, WCW always had these booty ass characters. Like it was the Mauler, and maybe was it Jerry Flynn or Jerry?
It's Mike Enos.
Mike Enos. Okay.
Oh yeah,
I think it was a Mike Enos match, and just all the little things that went together to make that work. I guess it was Larry Zbyszko's idea for him to come through the crowd. Because they were going to, I think it was Eric Bischoff was going to have him come through the curtain. They're like, no, have him come through the crowd. You know, he's going to be like an outsider, an invader, you know?
Yeah.
And then they forgot who it was. It might've been Scott Hall, but somebody was like, somebody wanted him to interfere in the match. And he's like, no, it'd be more real if I came in and just kind of talked. And I don't care about the match. I'm not here to, we want to make it look like a shoot, like this is a real thing going on. Like we want to break kayfabe for a minute and just kind of, blur those lines. And it was something different, and WWF wasn't doing stuff like that at the time because they were still really protecting the business, and WCW was willing to step outside of the box and, do something different.
Yeah. More reality based.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That was one of the reasons I liked WCW so much when I discovered it, it was just different. So
there was nothing. And I think, Jericho's got the moniker, the demo god, but before that, dude, it had to be like Scott and Kev during those days. And all the college parties that centered around pro wrestling back then.
NWO parties.
Yeah, dude, they were straight doing Mean Gene was like having the Monday Night Nitro parties. Like I
remember that.
Fucking love to have been of age back then.
Hell yeah.
Fucking get down with Mean Gene.
Shotgun and beers with old Mean Gene.
What the hell?
Yeah. They would do the spring breakout episodes of Nitro at Club La Vila.
Yeah.
There was one where Hall and Nash were out there. I think Hall got thrown into the water, into the pool by the Giant. Yep. And then in order to avoid the Giant, Nash just cannonballed in just so he didn't get thrown. It was like the funniest thing ever. They're both wearing like Hawaiian shirts. They've clearly been drinking a little bit, enjoying the break activities. And those were great, man. Just Nitro just had a different feel. WCW had a different feel. And those guys helped add to that. It was like they were real guys, like this was, he was raised a Ramon. He was talking with a fake Cuban accent and he was playing a character, but now he's here. His name is Scott. He's just this normal guy now, and so everything just felt more real.
Well, speaking of that, let's talk a minute about that. His name is Scott now. I remember that. And like I said, I had the magazines, but I didn't really pay attention to like, I knew this is Big Scott Hall, like it was big years Scott and years Hall. Later when I was seeing him like tagging, when he used to tag with Rick Steiner and Mr. Perfect and shit. But
Perfect.
How big was that for them to come in and be their real names? That just added, it was such everything in wrestling when moments and booms like that happen. It's timing and it's like, you can't predict it. It just happens, dude.
Organic.
And, it was so organic. It's probably the most organic shit I've ever seen and will ever see in professional wrestling.
Yeah.
I hope it's not. I really, because as a wrestling fan, I want to be pumped up. I want to be entertained. And I want it to not just be some hokey, like, hey, hit carny fucking bullshit pro wrestling. I want it to be as big as it was and just entertaining. And that was like another thing that added for me, like, wow, dude, like Scott Hall, like, holy shit, maybe they really are fucking coming over and like, because
they're invading.
Back in the day, like you said, kayfabe, you didn't know that shit. Nobody knew their fucking.
Not a lot of dirt sheets.
Yeah, dude, it's so crazy. Like it is. Just, and that guy was the fucking match to that moment. Like, and it was struck, and then boom.
Yeah,
NWO.
I think it was a blessing that they couldn't bring the names and the characters with them.
Yes.
Because had they owned those and they went in, I think, no disrespect to Macho Man and Hulk Hogan, but when they went over to WCW, they were kind of the same characters. They didn't have to reinvent themselves, and it helped WCW. Don't get me wrong, but it obviously didn't propel them to the level that a Hall and Nash would. with the help of those guys, of course, eventually. But it was just different. Those guys had to come in, reinvent themselves. They were a part of something different. Yeah, it was new. It was fresh. It was real. It was crazy.
And it still lives today, dude, for life.
Yep. I think using the actual names is what did it for me.
Yeah.
Because you didn't see that a lot of that around then, and then you're watching WWF, and then you're watching Nitro, and all of a sudden you see, hey, what's Razor Ramon doing in the crowd? And then they say Scott Hall, and I'm like, who the hell is Scott Hall? Yeah, I know Diamond Stud just from the early couple matches I've seen him, but
he's Elias's younger brother.
Yeah, exactly. Elijah's. And then I think it was funny because I remember watching I think it was right around before he jumped over to WCW. And I think there was ESPN Classic was a TV station.
Yeah, they would do the AWA.
Yeah. So I'm sitting there late night watching it, just passing the time, and I see this big buff, perfect push broom mustache looking dude. I'm like, who's this guy? It's this Scott Hall. I'm like, hey, fucking Scott Hall, get out of here. Where's the hell? Where's all this? What's going on here? But no, he's a stud in the ring, man. I was like, cool. That was my first experience of pre-Razor Ramon Diamond Stud.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
That's funny. I forgot about the old AWA stuff on ESPN Classic. That's how I realized Eric Bischoff used to work AWA, because I remember watching an episode and he was like the commentary or ringside interview.
He was like Mean Gene,
Yeah, he was like the Mean Gene, and I'm like, oh damn, that's a young Eric Bischoff. And it's a trip, but yeah,
dude, he looked like he could have been on Pacific Blue back in the day. Remember that show?
Yeah. I know. He was your typical 90s good-looking dude. I forgot who it was. It was Scott Hall. Called him I think it was Scott Hall. They called him a Ken doll.
Yeah.
In the first promo. That Ken doll look-alike.
Yeah.
Called out the Nacho Man. And, he went in there and called everybody out. But it was great.
And
it was a great run. But one thing that I think everybody can say when they talk about Scott Hall is, great run as Razor, great run as Scott Hall. No world titles though. That's in my mind the great and not just because he's my favorite wrestler, but I think probably one of the greatest guys to never win that big belt. On either side. I mean, he played such a big role in both companies. That's what trips me out, was he was such a big name in the WWF. It blows my mind that he never won the big one, In WCW, he was not as much in that spotlight because of the talent pool that was there. He was there competing with the Hogans and the Macho Mans, and then Goldberg came out, and you had all these, and he was kind of that upper mid-card guy. But in WWF at a certain point, he was one of the top 5 names there. So it's just a trip that he would have never won the gold, But I think he never really, from what I understand, just hearing interviews and stuff from him and people that knew him, he never politicked for it. Where a lot of those guys, they politicked hard for the gold. Like, I need to win the championship. That belt needs to be mine. Where he was more kind of like, hey, I'm here to make some money, have some fun. As long as I'm doing those things, I'm cool, So.
Yeah. What do you say? Chief Jay Strongbow told him, he's like, hey, you're in this business to do 2 things, make money and make friends. He's like, well, I got friends. Yeah. I really like the money.
Yeah. Exactly. So.
Well, where do you guys land on that argument about these like legends of wrestling, the ones that never won titles?
I think it depends. Like a guy like Scott Hall the character was so strong. It's like, I don't know if I could ever see him as world champion.
Yeah. Well, what other wrestlers other than Scott Hall?
Oh, all of
Jake,
Mr.
Jake the
Perfect,
Snake.
dude. Roddy Piper, Jake the Snake.
Yep, Roddy Piper.
But and some of these guys absolutely didn't need even a belt. At least, dude, Razor had the Intercontinental title. And let's not forget, obviously the ladder match with Shawn, like that. And that title was a big deal. Like at that time, like the world title, I mean, we were talking about, you had your champs, you had Shawn Michaels, but you had like Sid and Kevin Nash, and Bob Backlund even came back for a spell, those champs didn't really like appeal to me, but the guy with the Intercontinental title, and when Razor had it, just fit him, dude. I don't know if I could ever see the Winged Eagle on Razor, and in WCW. Like, I don't know, man. It's a tough call. Like, I get it, because there's a lot of those guys. I think Mr. Perfect was in Rick Rude, but he won in WCW. It was the World US heavyweight title or some bullshit. If you go back and watch, they say that, and it's like, what? Like,
yeah.
I don't know, man. Scott Hall was the perfect helping hand. I think, like you said, he never politicked. He was like, hey, I like making money. What can I do to help the business grow and prosper so I can continue to do so, and there still be a business afterwards, like
he always saw the big picture.
Yeah, dude. And you hear a lot of these guys, the younger superstars now that have met him and spent time with him and down at the Performance Center and stuff. And they're like, man, he was just a wealth and like so willing to pass on whatever he knew,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say that as much as I would love to have seen him with one of the world heavyweight titles, I would say that with him never having gotten one, I don't think that takes anything away. Like, you know what I mean? Like, whether he won it 0 times or 10 times, it doesn't take away from the legacy of Scott Hall, if that makes any sense. It's like Scott Hall is Razor Ramon is Razor Ramon, whether he was the Intercontinental champion, a tag team champion, world champion, or none of the above. He just kind of built himself on this character and this ring work. And I think that kind of stood out above all of that,
Yeah. So. That's exactly what I mean about like him not winning the belt. He really didn't need it. A lot of those guys, all of them really, Piper didn't need it. Mr. Perfect's the only one I could see kind of maybe getting a little shitty about him not getting it, because dude, his gimmick was he was perfect. If you're perfect, you're world fucking champion.
Yeah, exactly.
Tell me I'm wrong, because you're fucking not.
You're on. I feel like DiBiase should have had it too.
Yeah, well, he technically kind of did. He bought it from
but
it was great for the gimmick.
It was great. Yeah. But they don't count that as an official reign though, so that kind of sucks. But
yeah, what really is an official reign? It's pro wrestling.
Roman.
Oh damn!
Oh, I'll see myself out.
Yeah, I'm only trying to acknowledge Scott Hall right now. So, if you please,
yeah.
But
acknowledge it.
I want to talk. I want to go into some of the later federations and promotions he was in here in a second. But I also want to talk about like his in-ring work. Like, he was a big guy, really big. Like, holy shit, I wouldn't fuck with this dude, Yeah. But he could move like a cat in the ring. Yeah. He didn't do anything like overly crazy, but dude, come on. The Razor's Edge, that's one of the best finishers ever.
One of my favorites.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that's up there. It's either my favorite, it's either that or the Diamond Cutter, but those are up there for me for sure. The fall away slam, just
yes,
did it, and he called it the sack of shit. He didn't call it the fall away slam. So behind the scenes, he called it the sack of shit, because he's like, I'm going to get you. I'm going to throw you back like a sack of shit. So that was kind of his thing. Obviously, they couldn't call it that. It was the fall away slam. But, just his signatures. He did a choke slam, and that was kind of cool. Just he had I've never seen anybody do a choke slam the way that he did it. It was very sudden and abrupt, just a lot of his moves that he did, his punches were the best in the business. And you had guys later on like The Rock who came out and said that how influenced they were by his style. And if you look at the way The Rock throws his punches and the way Scott threw his punches are very similar.
Yes.
And I always put those two together when The Rock started kind of coming into his own. I'm like, man, he's got a similar style to Hall, even some of the same moves they would use. Hall used to use the Samoan drop every once in a while. And he would do it kind of similar to the way The Rock would do it, in almost this kind of unorthodox form of it, but yeah, I mean, the dude had moves. He was
do you think he's underrated as a performer?
I would say that at one point he was. I would say that within probably the last 5 to 7 years, I think people started to come around a lot more to guys like Scott Hall and X-Pac, and a lot of those guys who maybe were kind of swept under the rug at a certain point and not fully appreciated. I think a lot of guys now are starting to come out and go, oh man, I'm going back and watching, yeah, Scott Hall really was good,
Yeah, it's not just about Sean and Brett,
Yeah, well, at a certain point, I remember, and this is probably from the 2000s to the mid 2000s, people started to dislike Scott Hall. And I don't know if it was a lot of the stuff that was going on in his life, but I remember when I would tell people my favorite wrestler, Scott Hall, they're like, oh, that guy's a dirtbag. He's not even that good, and this and that. And a lot of people, really didn't have a lot of nice things to say about him. And it was almost like within the last 5 years, he's a lot more people's favorite wrestler now,
Yeah.
So,
I think he always was, but the thing that sucked is, the party lifestyle and all that kind of, I think maybe people just had enough of that. And you loved him so much, you didn't want to see him. Like I said, he would turn up in TNA. He was there early on in TNA when he was still, we're talking 2002.
Yeah.
Still in pretty damn good shape, but he had other stints where he came back later. And dude, I remember him walking out. I think he had the belts. Him and Nash or him and somebody had the belts in TNA, and he's coming out. He looks fine, and then all of a sudden he just lets his gut poof out. He's on the ramp, and it's like, I was like, holy shit, he's got like a huge gut, and then he just sucked it back up, and he's like kind of just working the crowd. I'm like, dude, man, I think that could detract a lot of people, though. Because it's like you feel so sad.
Yeah, I get it, but it's like, it was one of those things. I was like such a loyalist, such a diehard. I was always that guy sitting there, just knowing, man, he's going to get his stuff together. I remember when he went from WCW, and then, obviously WCW got purchased, and when the NWO made their WWE return, or actually I guess debut, because they came back as Nash and Hall and Hollywood. Oh my gosh, man, I was so excited because I hadn't seen Hall on TV in like 2 years at that point.
I almost had blood vessels burst in my head. I was like, oh, let's go.
It was, dude, it was crazy. And obviously that, didn't turn out the way we wish it could have. But it was still nice to see him get some spotlight, to see him in a, with the feud with Austin, even though it wasn't great, it was still a feud with Austin,
Yeah.
And, they didn't just kind of crap on him completely.
No, only a little bit when they had him tied up in the fucking, what was it, the beer truck?
Yeah, well, they had him tied up, and then Austin was dumping beer on him, and apparently he was taking some sort of medication for
Anabuse, I think, or something like that.
And it's like if you taste beer or even smell it, you become violently ill. And he was taking that during the time. But see, that just kind of goes to show the type of professional he is, right? He knew what was going to happen. He knew what he was on, and he didn't say, "Oh, hey guys, I don't want to do this because of this. I'm taking this, and I don't want beer." He's like, "Hey, cool, let's do it." The guy was really for the business. I think a lot of people didn't realize that for a long time, you know, because a lot of those guys from the clique, they just have that that kind of negativity around them, you know, like they're just all horrible people, you know.
I heard Jake Roberts on one of Jericho's latest pods, and he's talking. He was like, "Whoa, the clique. Let's just say they weren't really good for business, brother." Yeah, like teeth chattering, motherfucker.
Well,
Yeah, he was. You got to remember that Scott Hall is the one that called the shot on the 1-2-3 Kid winning, beating him on Raw.
Yes,
And he was looking way past what, you know, everyone else is looking at. And that helped the business. And yeah, exactly.
and it made Kid, dude. It made Kid. With Sean Waltman wouldn't be shit without that victory.
Yep. Well, there was be no 6-pac, no X-pac without that moment.
Yeah,
that's true.
Good call.
And that's another underrated guy right there. That's another one of my favorites. Great guy. I'm surprised how many people. I think more people are coming around to him now, but I'm surprised how many people just annihilate him.
Oh yeah,
X-pac, dude. There's a term, X-pac heat.
Yeah. I don't, man.
I don't like you.
He was one of my favorites, man. I don't know. I just I thought he was great. I thought he was great when he was 6. Actually, the only time I didn't like him was when he was 1-2-3 Kid. No. I never liked the baby face as much. I've always been into the heels. And so, you know, 1-2-3 Kid was, I don't know. I could just never, I know he was a heel at one point later before he left WWF, but really when he became 6 and, you know, hanging out with Hall and Nash.
That's wearing that Jim Morrison shirt when he debuted, sitting in the front row. Hell yeah, dude. Him and Hall together too. It's like, especially look at it nowadays that you're older and you can party and stuff. Now there would have been like, man, those, like I said, that's what's drawing them in. All these college kids and these 9 million people watching. Like, these dudes look like some fucking awesome bros to party with. Like, look at them.
Wasn't X-pac like the first one that I can remember during the Monday Night Wars where he jumped back to WWF? And he became X-pac, and I remember watching that. And I'm like, you were just on fucking Nitro last week. What's going on here? And he's
pulling
like,
a Cody.
Yeah.
It was the night after WrestleMania 14.
Yeah, and didn't he shoot on WCW and Bischoff? He shot on him, I thought.
And Hogan,
and Hogan,
because Hogan on Nitro said something about 6 is gone. He couldn't cut the mustard, and so X-pac went out there. That was another great night. And then now you got the click on both TV shows, right?
Right.
You would see things where they would communicate through each other with each other through the TV. You know, you'd see them throwing up the Too Sweet, you know, doing stuff like that. You'd hear Kevin Nash on the way to the ring or something. I see you, Sean, or something like that, you know. And they were on both sides. They were actually being told, like, "Hey, you guys can't do that. Like, you guys can't doing that. We don't want to tell you what to do." The other side, you know. But again, that's what made those guys so cool, and that's what made a lot of that so real. You know, was, you know,
the anti-heroes,
dude. And like Scott, going back to some of his, you know, moveset, I loved when he would just get a guy down, disrespect him, just paintbrush him in the face. I was just like, so
still throwing the toothpick
too. Like, come on, you know.
Yeah, he's smacking him around in the head. He had some nice heel tactics.
Dude, the best.
A lot of those heel tactics that I don't know, you know. I don't think people think outside the box like that much anymore. You know, heels should do heelish things. Eddie Guerrero was another one that was really good at that. That guy knew how to play a heel. He knew how to do these heel things. And Scott Hall was great at that. He was a great heel. He was also a great quote unquote chicken shit heel. You know, he would do the things where he would hide behind Kevin sometimes, or, you know, or I remember a match versus Harlem Heat. he spit on Stevie Ray, and then he tagged in Kev.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was hilarious. And I remember hearing an interview with him where he actually said that wasn't planned. And when he did it, he was terrified because he's like, I just spit on Stevie Ray. This guy's going to kill me.
About to flapjack his ass.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, just the good old fashioned heel stuff, you know. I mean, he was a great baby face as Razor, but man, you know, when he did that heel stuff, man, it's great. He'd come out with the cocky stuff, and then somebody would hit him with something, and he'd kind of look surprised, like, oh, you know. So it was great. He knew how to play it every which way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Even as a face, if you go back and watch the YouTube videos where he'd come out on, God, what was it, like some Ricky Lake talk show or something like that, or it was one, I forget what it was, but he'd come out and there's
Jenny
Springer.
Yeah, and then there were kids there, and like it's just weird because you got this big drug cartel gimmick wrestler, but he was
Your kids want some drugs, man.
Yeah, how about an Intercontinental Championship, man? And he'd give them belts and like shirts and like, dude, and as a dad, you know, and a parent and shit, like I see that shit now and it kind of stings me a little more. Like, I'm like, that's fucking sweet, dude. You got it from the bad guy. Like, wish I was that fucking kid. Like, help me.
Yeah, and I think on that episode of Springer, one of the kids he actually gave the kid the belt.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
And he called Vince McMahon, I think, and was like, hey man, I didn't ask for permission, but hopefully I can get forgiveness. I gave the belt away, you know. So but I guess they had multiple at the point. He's like, well, goddamn pal, we'll ship another one out to you.
You did what?
Yeah,
you're lucky. You're lucky. You're
get on that Make a Wish before John Cena was the man with this shit.
Exactly. Beat him to the punch.
But I just think, you know, he was that genuine of a dude. He was a sweet dude. He had his demons, man. But, you know, the infamous, you know, pairing with DDP, going to the accountability crib, you know, with Jake, and you see him. And by this time, dude, there's the ESPN documentary, you know, the 30 for 30 or whatever it was. And, you know, the stints in TNA that where you could tell, oh, man, something ain't right.
Yeah.
But he goes and he gets the help he needs, you know, like, and dude, thank God for DDP bought us another, decade or so.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
More of Scott Hall. And then all of a sudden this freak shit happens. And it's like, he's gone in the blink of an instant. Like, damn, dude, one of the ones that you thought beat it. It's like Stevie Ray Vaughan quit doing 8 balls of cocaine in his coffee every day and got sober. And then he played after Eric Clapton, before Clapton at a blues fest and died in a helicopter crash. Like,
yeah,
what the fuck, dude? I just wish he would have been able to, man, it's unfortunate because it's really, I don't think that's really on him. And it's definitely not due to any alcoholism or drug addiction. I don't think, you know, so at least I have a little bit of solace and peace of mind in that. Like the dude pretty much stayed clean once he got clean and kind of found himself again, dude.
Got himself a Hall of Fame ring.
Hall of Fame, dude. What? Did they do it twice?
Yeah. Yeah.
And he'll go in again, dude. You know, they'll have to put the click in.
They'll put the click in, or the Outsiders. They'll find a way to do it again. But yeah, you know, he that first Hall of Fame induction, man, that was special to watch that. And he looked good. He looked happy. He looked healthy, and it was just like such a long time coming, you know?
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
Yeah.
He's one of those gimmicks that it'll live on forever, man. You know, we had Buff Bagwell on recently, and he was like, you know, I had that top hat, and like,
yeah,
dude, that fucking, he'll live, you know, forever. But there's these guys, there's these entertainers, these performers, these athletes that are up there, our Macho Mans, our Hulk Hogan's, our Stone Colds.
Oh yeah.
And he's one of those dudes. It's just, man, it's so crazy to think of his passing and everything, man. Cause we're like a couple months removed out now though, but it really, really kicked my ass. I'm like, damn it. What?
Yeah, it was it was just a shock, you know, and obviously, you know, there's been a lot of positive fan support behind it, which is cool. You know, it's really cool to see. And you know, my thing is, at least, you know, he kind of went out on top. He went out in a good place, because had this happened like 10 years ago during all that stuff, it would have just been story after story about tragedy and how bad the wrestling business is and how it killed this guy and how all these that's all you would see is negativity.
Right.
But because it happened when he was in a good place, it was kind of like, you know, RIP, you know, he was happy, he was healthy, you know, obviously before the surgery and all that, but yeah.
Dude, and the guy was a merch machine.
He was.
Like you said, he didn't need to have the world championship, because he was making so much money. And I'm sure you got some of the stuff. You know, I already was flossing. I just got another. This is like the latest Razor Ramon pop. I just found it. And it happened to be around this time that we recorded this. So I'm glad I got it. I think I gave the last one away in like a game or something we did early on. I was like, man, you're a fucking idiot, thinking of myself. But I'm sure you got a mad collection of Razor shit. What do you got, man?
I got a bunch of action figures. And then, you know, some shirts and stuff like that. But yeah, I've got kind of a wall.
Get any of those chalk line jackets?
No, but I was gonna get the chalk line shorts, the basketball shorts.
Yes.
But they're Lakers colors, and so I can't do it.
Oh, I don't blame you. Don't blame me at all.
I was looking at them and I was like, wrestling fans will know what I'm wearing, but it says Razor so small on them. Most people are going to think they're Lakers shorts, basketball shorts. And I can't walk around town with Lakers colors on. So.
No. Oh, no. Especially there.
Yeah. So
I'm a Bulls fan myself. I see red.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, no, that's not going to happen. But they do. They got some cool stuff, man. There's definitely some cool shirts and gears. I like that old Razor shirt that's I never had one. It was from the 90s. It's like a blown up picture of his face. I think it says Razor going down it. And it's like yellow and gray. It's that iconic exactly shirt you always saw during like the new generation era. You always saw people in the front row wearing it. And it was always like 7 sizes too big on some kid.
Yes. I was one of those kids once.
Dude, that's the shirt. I think they brought it back not too long ago too. I think they reprinted it. So that's one that I kind of always wish I had. I never got stuff like that back then. Because back then, right, you had to get it from the catalog.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's like a $25 shirt in 1995, you know. My mom's like, I'm not buying a $25 shirt from a catalog, you know.
Dude, I just watched a Nitro match. Man, I forget. Maybe it was like 98, 99, maybe 2000. Buff Bagwell versus Goldberg. And Goldberg's coming out. They're advertising WCWgear.com. Get the Goldberg shirt, $40.
Oh my gosh,
man.
$40 fucking dollars, dude.
Man, crazy.
No,
back then, that T-shirt would have been like, now it's $80.
You're paying shipping and handling. You know, they're like plus $4.95 shipping and handling, and
plus $20.95 shipping and handling. What?
Yeah, and then you get in, your dad throws away because he's like, Goldberg sucks.
Exactly. Or he washes it and it shrinks 7 sizes.
Yeah,
now you got nipple covers.
This is very true.
Expensive, man. But
did you ever get his autograph on any memorabilia?
Ooh,
I have his autograph. Yeah, I do have it on just like a promotional picture. Let's see, I got it here on the wall. Let's see if I can get it off without messing something up. Oh,
break it down. Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, dude. Man, that's sweet.
Nice old WCW NWO promo.
Too sweet.
yeah.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Dude, I'm pissed because like there was a few years ago, I think Jeff Jarrett had that Global Force promotion before they like tied in with TNA and all that.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And they came around here to like Porter County Fairgrounds, And dude, Scott Hall was there signing shit. And my buddy JR like met him and shit. And then he had a bad experience with Jeff, I guess, whatever. Another day, another time. But man, I'll forever kick myself in the ass because he was right there, dude. It was like 40 minutes away. And I don't know why I didn't go, to be honest with you.
They had some kind of like comic book toy convention thing in Stockton, California last year, which is like maybe 50 minutes from me. And Scott Hall and I believe Kevin Nash were there. And I didn't even know it happened until literally just like a few weeks ago. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I missed that, you know, like, cause it would have been cool to go to just in general. But on top of that, you know, there was a bunch of wrestlers there. So yeah, I feel you, man, missing out.
It's the worst, man. So speaking, I mean, dude, you got the video game background, you know, you got the show. What is your favorite incarnation of Scott Hall or Razor in a video game?
WCW Nwo Revenge. Yeah, that would be my favorite. That game just came out at such a cool time. Like pretty much that was like the prime of that era of WCW, you know, and just all those guys. And the fact that, you know, you had Scott Hall there, you could play him with 4 different attires and you can even modify the attires. And they had the fall away slam in there and the taunts, and the outsider's edge was super accurate. That would probably be my favorite. So I know like later on, you know, in the more recent games, they've done him justice for sure. But you know, that one just as far as like, I mean, I worship that game. I played that game religiously for probably 2 years. So just on a daily basis, ridiculous. So
yeah, dude, easily one of the best, easily. And even in No Mercy, you could create Scott like so easily. They still had all the moves and the taunts and everything, and you could.
Oh yeah, that was great. That was everything carried over, and it was like cool. Yes, I always made those guys. My creator wrestler roster was usually always like all the guys from WCW.
Oh yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So yeah, it was great,
dude. You know, we're big music people around here, and as we're talking about Scott Hall and all in different versions of him, whether it be Razor, whatever, he always had the coolest like entrance music, dude. NWO Black and White, super tight. NWO Wolfpack, man. Oh God, super tight. The Razor Ramon theme song, super tight, man. Like, and then like after WCW fold, he'd be out in Japan doing stuff, and he'd be coming out to the Fugees. Like,
yeah, he did that in ECW too. So
yeah,
in ECW, I think only once. But he came out to Fugees, Ready or Not. So yeah, it was cool. And then when he was in TNA, he had a song called Marvelous Me was his entrance theme. And it sounded, if you listen to it, it's got a similar sound to the Razor Ramon theme. It's got that doom, 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 doom. And then it's just
dun, 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 dun,
yeah.
Dun, dun. Yeah, dude. Hell yeah. That's all. And they were able to use the Wolfpack for a little bit too, but it just didn't have any lyrics.
Yeah, TNA was weird like that. They used the when Hogan went in, Hogan's theme was the NWO Japan theme song.
It's the video game song.
It's the one from the video game, the one they used in Thunder. And I think they used it as well in Mayhem. But yeah, it's a trip that they were able to use certain things like that. So, and then some things they just kind of ripped off, you know. But yeah, more power to them to get away with it.
Yeah, they did. Oh shit, brother. As we wind down here, you know, just I'd like to know what's some of your favorite attires, because Scott Hall, you know, and you've done videos on this and like attires, and you do the arena showcases, all that stuff, and it's fucking amazing. What's some of your favorite, you know, get ups?
You know, when he debuted in WCW and he had the red drip attire, but the one that he wore at Bash at the Beach 96, it said Outsiders along the side of it on the trunks. Yeah. And it had the blood drip and all that. That was one that he didn't use that often. He I think he used it for like that first maybe 6 months he was there. That one was always really cool. The vests were always cool. All the drip stuff was cool, man. The black and white drip was cool, but that red drip was incredible. And then of course the Razor gear. He had some of that Razor gear had like patterns on it. Mm-hmm. It was just incredible. Like he had some that had like, just unique, different colored patterns and stuff. Whenever he wore stuff like that, it was really cool. And he didn't do it a whole lot. It was usually like, for a big pay-per-view, he'd come out with a vest that's got this unique pattern all over it. And, those were great, stuff like that. But all of his gear was really cool. And then I don't know if you ever saw this, but his son at one point was wearing his gear.
Yeah, Cody. He was a member of the Bullet Club too.
Yeah. I think he's kind of graduated to like his own style now with his gear. But for a while, he was wearing the red drip gear, just like his dad was, which was really cool.
He's a big kid, man. He's a big dude as well, man. It's crazy to see, like, knowing how big Scott was back in the day, and you see him, with Cody recently, and I was like, damn, he looked like a midget compared to the kid.
Right.
Like he's definitely got his dad's build and his height and shit.
That's true.
I know he just started taking bookings again. I thought he was getting himself into some heat with fans or whatever on Twitter for, I don't know if he said something offensive or whatever, and he just kind of disappeared. And I think he was hurt for a little bit, but I don't know too much of what's going on with him. I think it's unfortunate because it'd be awesome to see something, from Scott still going in the biz. And if Cody was cool and get on that level, like, dude, you want to form a faction, bring him in. You got the son of Scott Hall, have him put a wig on or something. A greasy wig. Go get that mop
with the curl.
You got to have that curl, man, because the chicas, they just for fun.
Chicos and the chicas.
That's right. Sretton, you haven't said much. So as we get ready to shut her down here, is there anything you have to say about Razor Ramon?
Mm-hmm. I thought he was a legend. I didn't know much about him until pretty much Hogan's turn. I was aware of Razor Ramon. I was aware of the accent. I was aware of all that stuff, but I never was. He was part of the team that sucked me back into wrestling in the 90s. I thought he looked great. I thought he had one of the best fucking bodies in wrestling. He's also one of the best sellers when he would wrestle.
Oh yeah.
And like you guys all said, it's always interesting. I talked about this a couple weeks ago. It's always interesting when you get a wrestler that can do everything. So if you can cut a badass promo and also perform, and you don't know, it's not that you don't know what you want to see, but if he was so good on the mic and in front of the camera that if you didn't see him wrestle, it was okay. But then when you did see him wrestle, he fucking delivered every single time. And that is super rare. A lot of times you get one or the other, and I don't care what anybody says, you very rarely get the whole package. People might think they're awesome in front of the mic, and he was able to do it. And he was able to, in a way, reinvent himself, WWE at the time was WWF, and it had its certain way to get over with the fans and certain shit that Vince McMahon liked. Then he went to WCW, and they had their way. Then he went back to WWF, and they had a different way. And he was able to get himself over every single time. That's that takes special talent. So
totally.
To all the people in real life that knew him, I mean, he'll be missed. And to those of us, like, especially you guys who had a much stronger attachment to him, you guys are going to miss him especially. But, we did get some awesome entertainment out of him. Mm-hmm. So, and hopefully he has influenced a lot of people, even more than he already has, to make some shit in the world that we really enjoy to be entertained in.
Yeah. I think Britt Baker's a fan. I think that's what she modeled her gear like got permission or asked him to do like the drip, you know.
Drip.
I was like,
drip. He's also got one of the best quotes ever delivered.
"Oh, you're gonna lay it on me?
Should I lay it on you? Hard work pays off. Dreams come true. Bad times don't last, but bad guys do. Hey, yo. Score another one for the good guys."
Fuck yeah, dude. He's up there. He's the man. And as I get older too, it's like everybody's got their, you know, their Mount Rushmores or whatever. But I don't know, man. He's just top 10 list, top 5, whatever. Like the guy was great, and he'll be really sorely missed. Yeah. So, you know, Nikateen.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for reminiscing with us about the one, the only Scott Hall, aka Razor Ramon, whatever you want to know him as.
Yeah.
Let everybody right now know what you got coming up.
Actually,
what's going on with your channel?
I'm working on a revisit of WWF No Mercy right now. So been hard at work on that. And this one's going to be a long one. I think it's like 30 plus minutes.
Sweet.
So going into a lot of detail, been editing it now for about 2 weeks and just plugging away on it. So hopefully have it out by, I don't know, probably not this weekend, but we'll see. Hope maybe. So I'm going out of town this weekend. So if not, it'll be a little bit long. So I'm pushing to have it out by this weekend.
Cool.
Fuck yeah. You got t-shirts, right?
No merchandise. No, nothing. Yeah. Just kind of.
You need to do like a Razor Scott Hall fucking tribute.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Not a bad idea.
Before we end here real quick, Bodie, I'm going to hit you up real quick. Let me know this. What is your absolute favorite Scott Hall moment?
Oh man, favorite Scott Hall moment out of all the moments that he has. You know what? I'm going to have to say, because it was monumental to me in the history of wrestling, is him showing up on Nitro. That is my all-time favorite moment. Now, you know, some people might be like, that's easy. That's a cop-out. Well, no, it isn't, you bastard. You know why? Because it was monumental. It's stuck in my head, and I relive it. I watch it maybe once a week, you know, him coming out, because it was just the best moment for, you know, in forever and in the history of wrestling, in my opinion. But, you know, being such a huge Scott Hall fan then, and a Razor Ramon fan, and me being, you know, the young kid not privy to the business, and kayfabe is still alive, seeing him on Raw one week and then seeing him on Nitro a couple weeks later is just like, was mind blowing to me at that age. So it's still mind blowing today. And just to relive that and get the same goosebumps, I have to make it my number one.
Nikateen?
I'm going to go with another one that's very predictable, but it's going to be WrestleMania 10, the ladder match. And really the reasoning is not only, you know, watching that victory and just seeing him up on top of the ladder with the 2 titles afterwards, but I had that VHS as a kid, and it was one of the few wrestling tapes that I had as a kid. So of course, you know, back then when you had a VHS tape, you pretty much watched it until the damn thing almost broke. And
Coliseum home video.
Oh yeah. So I would watch that pay-per-view like once every few days. And I watched that match over and over and over again. And it was just, it's an incredible match. You know, there's a reason why it's so popular. So it's a good match.
I could very easily go with both of those selections. Mine's going to be a little obscure, maybe a little stupid. People are probably going to be like, yeah, right, he's just blowing fucking smoke.
He is.
But maybe for its comedic purposes, this is, because that was the other thing too. Like everything as tough and badass as Razor and Scott Hall and those characters were, it was funny as shit. You know, like he ended Goldberg's streak. My favorite moment is him with the cattle prod and the fucking toothpick and thing just come. He's the security fucking shit. All of a sudden, I'd never seen that before in wrestling, and I was like, "Holy shit!" He's like, like, "Holy shit!" And people always shit on that moment. But dude, it would have took that or a fucking Mack truck to put Bill Goldberg down at that point in time, you know? Like,
Yeah.
I just thought it was so funny, man. That's one of those moments. That's one that I constantly all the time. I'm like, man, that's silly. That thought crosses my head a lot. And I'm like, that was silly, you know?
It's
like,
too good.
Yeah, dude, if you want some silly moments, his last run in WCW, like from late 99 to 2000, he wasn't there on a regular basis, but every time he was there, it was funny. It was like when they were like during that time, they were making fun of Sid.
yeah.
And then at one point he ended up in a psychiatric hospital. It's just hilarious little things that they did towards the end. That was actually kind of a shining spot during that point in WCW. So
Yeah, dude, that motherfucker was a shining beacon in the world of professional wrestling, and he will continue to be because he passed out a lot, and that's it's got to roll down somewhere and go to somebody else. Like word of mouth is a powerful fucking thing. His influence and imprint, I think, will continue to grow, and you'll see it a lot in pro wrestling. And I encourage everybody that if for some weird reason you don't know who we're talking about and you just watch the show because we're handsome and funny, then go check out Scott Hall and Razor Ramon. Anything this guy did was entertaining, which is why he's in the upper echelon of professional wrestling, because anything the guy did was entertaining. And he had his demons, he got his life back together. Mad respectful, dude. Did it right. Didn't go out on his own accord, but he will forever be missed and remembered by all of us and everybody throughout the entire world that enjoyed his special talents, man, because he was fucking great. So all I got to say is say goodbye to the bad guy, because that's it. There is no more. This episode is fucking done. It's fucking over. And I encourage all of you right now to go check out Nikateen Spotlight Game Reviews on YouTube. And I'm going to stop yelling so much because, you were cutting up on me earlier. Like, well, he wasn't. I like Scott Hall because he wasn't like the Juice. He wasn't fucking all yelling and shit. And
like this fucking brick.
Yeah. So I'll just say it like this. All right, actually, Bodie, I'll let you close it out as only you can, as the man himself.
As the bad guy? Hey, yo, thanks for listening. We're going to score one for the good guys. And remember, wet them up. Wet them up. Wet them up.
Wet them up.
Wet them
Wet
up.
them up.
Wet them up. Hey, yo.
The big man and the medium-sized man, we're going to carve you up.
For life.
You gonna do sex to me?
Did you like that video? If so, be sure to hit like and subscribe and check out more killer content from your boys at Juice Pro Wrestling. Whoa, yeah!